Hi everyone, my name's Emma. Today we are talking about Malcolm and Marie, which is a new Netflix movie. When it comes to choices and decisions, the ones that we make with more intention will help us create the world that we want to live in. So we talk about here on this channel, how can we overcome our past and embrace our present through making more intentional choices. Malcolm and Marie came out the other day, and it looks like it was a during pandemic production because the entire film is filmed within one house with two people, but the acting was amazing. And one of the very first trailers that I saw for it, it said this is not a love story, this is a story about love. And it absolutely was. The couple gets into a fight, the couple is annoyed, the couple is coming at each other, digging up the past, trying to figure it out, and all of it over a fight that actually meant a lot more than they thought it did at the beginning. And I want to take a little time to talk about a few lessons that I learned from the movie that we can take with us to our own relationships in our own life, whether it be with a significant other or otherwise. And the movie did come out just in time for Valentine's Day, and I think it did become very representative of it's a lot of couples living by themselves in a house where they can't really interact with others. So the movie was very representative of multiple things going on during this era of quarantine. So one of the first lessons that I want to talk about is that one partner is so excited about something and the other one is upset and doesn't really know how to talk about it. And after almost the entire movie, we realize why she was actually upset. But they dig through their whole past fights, what they've been through, what brought them together, and until all of that is dug up and resolved, the actual issue isn't fixed. So what can we learn from that? Well, a lot of times we do that with pretty much everyone in our lives, including ourselves. We will ignore what the actual problem is and be mad about absolutely everything else, and it is probably the most unproductive thing that we can do. And we end up hurting ourselves, hurting that person, and just hurting the situation that they're in as well. And it's difficult to just be straightforward with someone about what is going on, but I think that digs a little deeper into how we're unable to also be straightforward with ourselves. We often say little lies to ourselves, like when the alarm goes off and we don't want to get up, we're like, oh, I'm so tired. But the truth is, getting up and actually doing the work that you want to do seems a lot more daunting, but it's a lot easier to lie to ourselves and say like, oh, like I was really tired so I didn't get up. And we say these little lies to ourselves all the time, and then we are creating this distrust in ourselves, and then we create that distrust in our relationships because we first did it with ourselves. So when we are fighting with other people and we aren't actually talking about what the real problem is until the fight has almost destroyed everything and burned down everything in its path, and then we're like, okay, maybe let's talk about this now because I don't want this to completely go up in flames and end. And I think that a lot of us get to that point in life where things have to go completely wrong before we're like, you know what, it might be easier to just deal with this straightforward. So it's another big thing is we have to give ourselves the permission to feel those emotions at the core of what they are. And sometimes there are a lot of layers that we don't even know exist on these emotions. And then we might not even know that those emotions actually exist at the bottom. But trying to be honest with yourself as often as you can and giving yourself a moment to breathe and to figure it out and to give yourself space before things escalate. And one of the first things she said is, I don't want to talk about this right now. I know nothing productive is going to come out of it. And then the other person, her partner, was forcing it. He was saying, hey, let's talk about this. I want to know. I can't go to sleep if I don't know. And then that leads us into this second point that I want to talk about, him not being able to respect her boundaries and say, okay, she's upset, I understand she's upset, but she doesn't want to talk about it right now. And a lot of times we do that as well in life. We disrespect our own boundaries first, and then we disrespect the boundaries of others. We don't acknowledge people and give them the gratitude that they actually serve in our lives. And they did a wonderful job of going into the details of what one thing that he did actually meant, and she did a really good job. Zendaya is the main character, and then John David Washington is the male lead, and they did a fantastic job where they talked about what was going on in their relationship, and it could be taken out of that context and almost applied to every other one, romantic or non-romantic relationships, and they were able to, by the end, figure out exactly what he said, what he didn't say, and what both of those implied and meant to her, to their relationship, and to him as well. So trying to force somebody to talk about something before they're ready creates this retraction into the person, into themselves, and they say, all right, I don't want to talk about it. So they will dance around it because that was the original thing they didn't want to talk about. And if somebody doesn't want to talk about something and somebody else continues to press it, or when that person does want to talk about it and the other person just apologizes and ignores it, there's a lot of miscommunication there. And if we were to just stop and to listen to that other person and to really hear what they have to say and create a comfortable space for them to talk instead of immediately defaulting to yelling and being rude and trying to degrade the other person with stories that you know about them, it's very important not to do that, because we are creating, again, this distrust in a relationship where this is probably a person that you're very close to, romantic person or not, the friends you keep in your life, the family, your significant other, they are the ones who you trust the most. And whatever field you're in, that's probably true. You're probably not extremely close with other people, except for the ones that you choose to interact with on whatever basis, whether it be daily or weekly or whatever. These are people you probably trust, and you have felt this comfortable space with them. And for them to take parts of your past and throw them at you really breaks that trust, and it really talks a big part about how we deal with emotions in society, and that we really don't. We just ignore them and we yell at each other because we don't know what place we're coming from. Everybody gets on the defensive instead of being open to understanding and hearing what it is that they have to say. And if we were to do that, we would really create a world that is able to talk to one another. And even though communication is one of the most important things we have in this world, so many of us are not good at it because we don't communicate well with ourselves. We're not honest with ourselves. We don't trust ourselves, and that distrust is reflected into the people that we are closest to. So if somebody has boundaries, respect them, create a space. Don't drag up the past. If you have resolved the issue, we have to let it go and move on. And if that person continues to bring it up, there must be a reason why, and we should look into it a bit further too. Somebody brings up the same thing over and over again, there's a deeper reason for it, and we need to acknowledge it if we have any hope of overcoming whatever it is that's going on. And brings us into the last point is they actually ended up just saying sorry, and then they went to sleep. And well, I guess that's a spoiler of the movie, but the problem was resolved. But was it really? We don't know at the end as well, because it's just left there. And how many times do we say sorry? Somebody says sorry, and we believe that it's resolved. That okay, now this person understands that sorry is attached with an action of not doing this anymore. And that is a big part of an apology. It's not just saying, I'm sorry. It's the action behind it that created this need to say sorry is no longer going to happen. And if that doesn't happen, that sorry was also a lie. If somebody hurts you and they apologize for it, the person who you're apologizing to understands that sorry meant this isn't going to happen anymore. And if it does happen, they know that you lied to them and hurt them. So we need to be impeccable with our words is one of the very first things, and then we need to communicate with one another. We need to create safe spaces with one another. We need to be aware of our own emotions and how they are bringing changes into situations. When our moods shift and change, and that happened quite a few times. Somebody left the room and the mood shifted. Somebody entered a room and the mood shifted, because the emotions that we have in ourselves are usually so ignored that the presence of a person or the absence of a person shifts them up and down, and then thinking about the past, thinking about what once was, overthinking some things, and then thinking important things that didn't happen or did happen over and over again, and then we get trapped in our own minds, and then we can't communicate it because we don't even understand how our own emotions are. So I hope that you check out the film. It was really well done, and it does point to how love really does work, and it's something that you have to work towards. Romantic partners, non-romantic, the people in your life that you care about, that love that you have between you is something that you have to work on all the time. And it's not something that necessarily gets easier, but there is just more data that we know about the person that we can pull from. But also we need to be careful of what we're pulling from the past to defend arguments in the moment. And even when we're in the heat of the moment and we're so upset and we want to just hurt the other person, take a breath, take a step back, and don't hurt that person, because people usually don't forget those things of how you made them feel in the moments where they felt the most vulnerable. If you're yelling and screaming and upset at someone, that emotion underneath it is pain, and anger is just one of the ways they're trying to deal with it. So trying to hurt somebody that is already in a state where they're hurt is not the right way to do it. The movie did a great job at really showing conversations and how they can go, and there's a lot of details I didn't talk about, so I hopefully didn't spoil anything too much, but I hope you check it out. And of course, lessons in entertainment are something that happen so often. Every single movie is made with intention. There is a storyline that is teaching us something. If we choose to learn and to see it and to accept it into our lives, we can be changed every single moment of our days into the person we want to be if we just understand that there's so much to be learned at every single step that we take. So I hope you got something out of today's video. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you soon. But until then, I hope that you have an amazing day.